Let's check in now with the former U.S. Attorney and Executive Director of Right on Crime. Our good friend Brett Tolman is back with us with a new title. Brett, great to see you. Of course, still with the Tolman Group.
Great to see you, John.
Well, before we talk about this, tell us about Right on Crime, because, we talked at the top of the noon hour about Marilyn Mosby and George Soros's Open Societies Foundation and their criminal justice reform efforts. That's one part of this. Not the part I like to focus on, but the part I like to focus on is what your organization, Right on Crime, does. Let's talk about that.
What we need is conservatives leading any sort of reform in the criminal justice system. And the reason, John, is, quite frankly, we don't want to compromise community and personal safety. We want to fix, problems and broken aspects of the criminal justice system, but not compromise our own safety. And that's where we differ from a lot of those that are yelling for defund the police. And so I agreed to take this project on, and I'm excited about it. It's a big endeavor because we want to become the voice of conservative and thoughtful and reasonable change in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, you and I talk about the death penalty and situations like that, and this is just one of the areas where you guys look at this, try to apply conservative solutions to the issues, because the progressive solution is just to throw away the key, not lock anybody up, Brett, but just throw away the key, get rid of cash bail, and release these people out on the streets.
Yeah, it's always driven by emotional policymaking rather than thoughtful analysis. And look, the states across this country have done some things in conservative areas that are being largely ignored. But they're very successful. And so we're going to highlight those. I'm going to be all over the country, and I'm hopefully going to be a voice of reason, both in Congress, in D.C., as well as in the states.
Yeah, I mean, we see efforts by, local prosecutors to criminalize almost everything. Meanwhile, we see the borders wide open, people pouring in this country. Sometimes you have to laugh because the irony is so strong, but we know you're fighting the good fight. But let's talk, Brett, real quickly about the Arizona vote audit and why Democrats seem so hell-bent on stopping it. This to me seems like a real remedy to clear the air and instill integrity or confidence in the election process, but Democrats don't seem willing to do that.
Yeah, John, I'm really glad that you're highlighting this, because let's look at the inconsistency and hypocrisy. Well, I mean, we all watched as Republicans screamed for the Attorney General Barr to stop the Russian investigation, the Mueller probe, and he didn't. He let it go forward. But we see and Democrats were furious and upset and applied a lot of pressure. Now, this is simply to look at the vote and to give reassurance, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, to give reassurance in Arizona that the voting was done correctly and the counts were correct. And transparency is what we should all be about. And this is a lawful, state-authorized audit. But now you look at the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and what under his weakened leadership, you see that the Civil Rights Division is threatening to come in. This is an outrageous threat to come in and try to stop a state from simply being transparent.
Yeah, you want to take the distrust level and turn it from an 8 up to like an 11 on the distrust meter, get Merrick Garland and the DOJ involved in the state Senate's decision to audit this vote. Brett, real quickly, I want to go back to what we were kind of talking about before. We'll leave the Arizona thing aside, because I don't know if you've seen this story out of Texas with this tiger roaming around. This brought me to the topic of criminal justice reform, because the details of the story are kind of wild. The guy's got a tiger in his house. He's also got a slew of other criminal charges, including he's facing trial for murder. But in the time since his arrest, a 2017 murder charge, he's been out on bond awaiting trial. So we're talking about 3+ years, Brett, of somebody accused of murder facing trial. And we advocate for due process. But at the same token, you got a accused murderer walking around on the streets who has enough time to collect a menagerie of exotic animals. But that's a long time. On the other hand, we are promised a speedy and fair trial with a jury of our peers in this country. Is that how long it takes to bring a murder charge to trial?
Well, great comments. And sadly, we have seen that, trials don't happen often enough and they don't happen quickly enough. And this one size sort of fits all on bail, for example. What really should happen is an analysis of an individual based on their risk of flight or their risk of danger to the community. And when that happens, you might have factors that would eliminate, for example, the ability to cash, to get out on cash bail. If that happens, trials occur a lot more quickly. And so it's complex, but it's gotten sort of broken in several aspects, and really we're at a disadvantage when we are getting away from trials as prosecutors.
I want to focus.
That would change it.
On two things you said: danger to his community. All right, the guy has a tiger now that's gotten loose, so I would say he's a danger to the community, and he's also been arrested.
That fact.
Yeah, he's been arrested for felony attempting to flee. So there's that. He's fled his law enforcement community now. So 2 strikes against this guy. Again, I advocate for due process, but this is just bonkers.
He would be in custody, and you would see a much quicker trial,
right?
And hopefully when they're in custody.
And hopefully the tiger and his 2 apes or monkeys or whatever he has and other animals would be in a safer place than roaming the streets of suburban Houston, Texas. Brett, great to talk to you. As always, congratulations on the new post, Right on Crime. We'll have you back to talk more about that as well.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.